say Yasher Koach to Leo for leading us thus far this morning. We welcome everyone from near and far. And again, we know that this is one of those bizarre years, unlike really any other year. So thank you for joining us in our cyber shul here at Bethel in St. Louis Park, Minnesota, here in Minneapolis. You know, we ended services last night on a bit of a low note, as I'm sure many of you did. Just as we closed, we were told the news of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing, and we were shocked, just as you were. And I realized that the Torah I was going to share this morning had immediately become stale and expired. That there was new Torah that needed to be shared. And I couldn't help but think of this interview I watched only a few days ago that Justice Ginsburg gave 8 years ago, where she said, so often in life, things that you regard as an impediment turn out to be great good fortune. Things that you regard as an impediment turn out to be this great good fortune. And there, last night, I thought of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses. Were Moses not slow to speak? Would he have been what the Torah tells us was the most humble person on the face of earth? And I thought of Sarah Imenu. Were Sarah not insecure and of low self-esteem? Would she have been blessed with Isaac? And I thought of Noah. If he had not been the one to find Na'amah, would he have been asked by God to build the ark? And I thought of Nachshon. If he had not been impatient, would he have been the one who jumped into the waters? And I thought of Miriam. Had she been the one who couldn't sit still, who just had to dance, would the Israelites have celebrated? How can we take each of our trials and tribulations and turn them into our blessings? How can we find those opportunities that bring us to our knees and help us actually rise to the occasion? My father has always shared something with me over the years when I had those weak moments, when I had those challenges. He always said to me that the past is dynamic and the future is static. Now, some of you have heard me quote this before because it's a paradox. We think to ourselves, no, wait a minute, Rabbi, the future, you got this wrong. The future is dynamic and it's the past that is static. How could yesterday possibly change and tomorrow not? Well, it is a paradox, but it's actually informed by the mystical teachings of the High Holy Days. We relinquish control of tomorrow, and we hope and we pray that God inscribes us in this book of life, this book of good, this book of healing, this book of hope. And we reflect on everything that came before today, and we take control of that instead of letting it control us. We take control of yesterday and say, wait a minute, something could be different. We think about the man who beat cancer. He never would have wanted that. He never would have asked for that. He never would have said, God, please strike me with cancer today. Instead, he could say with this heralding resonant voice, I am stronger today for having beat cancer, and I'm grateful for the strength. We think of the woman who was summarily fired from her job. She never would have asked for the spiral that it led her to, but she could look back at how it led to her getting her life in order, finding a position that she felt respected and empowered, and finally grateful for that success. We could think of the man who got divorced. He never would have asked for that pain and heartache, but he could look at the happiness he never realized was missing, or the world he never knew existed, or the extra love and time with his children, and be grateful for that new life. We could think of the woman whose parent passed away. She never would have wanted that feeling of isolation and solitude and aloneness. But in that moment of quiet, she could reflect on the drive and determination and resolve she found and be grateful for that shove from beyond. There are so many times in our life that we get punched in the gut. But then we fast forward and we think of those moments and we say the past is dynamic. We were punched in the gut. We don't have to still feel that punch. The challenge, though, really, all of this is actually embedded in our Musaf service that we're about to recite. The Zichronot section of the Amidah, which we will abridge this morning, draws a distinction between us and God. God can remember everything, all time, all at once. We remember nothing, if anything at all. God has the vantage point of time immemorial. We could barely recall from our childhood and have nothing but a cloudy picture of the future. It takes, I think, someone like Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg to understand what perhaps I never did. RBG was born in 1933. She often quipped, "What's the difference between an immigrant furrier and a Supreme Court justice?" One generation. One generation. It took our oldest Supreme Court justice to recognize that change in our society is incremental. This is her words. Change in our society is incremental. Real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. She was able to see yesterday, today, and tomorrow. This is why at age 13, she acted as the camp rabbi at Camp Chinawa in Minerva. Real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. I never fully realized, but our challenge each year on these awesome high holy days is to try our darndest to figure out how we can look at yesterday, today, and tomorrow all at once. We get to the high holy days and we learn in Hebrew school and in day school, focusing on those things you did and trying to do better. And we compartmentalize. We take a moment on yesterday, we take a moment on today, and we take a moment on tomorrow, but that's wrong. We're supposed to have this trilateral concurrent view of everything. And that's nearly impossible for humanity. But when we recognize that the past is dynamic and the future is static, then we have this universal vision. We have an opportunity to reframe the past to help us face tomorrow to build a better future. That's not only what my dad taught me, that's the life that Justice Ginsburg lived, and that's the life that she left us with her parting words and her parting challenge. And really, that is our charge, especially this year, at the end of this verstunken year and the beginning of the next one. We have to take a look backwards. We have to look at every moment of pain and hurt and heartache and suffering. We have to look at every moment when you feel you could have done better, when we could have done better. Now just take one step toward a better life, one step toward a better world, one step toward positivity, toward harmony, toward unity, toward light, toward love, one step toward happiness and health. Just take one step. But know that Justice Ginsburg won't be with you. That so many others won't be with you. But that's okay if we make it okay. And we recognize that there are others who will take that step with us. That we will not be alone in our journey, in our struggle, in our personal and our communal fight. And we can and will find the gratitude and strength we need to ensure that this year will be a better year. That we will finally be able to laugh and say, 5780, that year sucked. But we could say 5781. We could do it different. We could take that one step because we remember that real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. But Justice Ginsburg never said who's going to take that step. And I'm going to say today, each one of us has to take that step. And that one step at a time is a collective step. It's a step backwards, forwards, left and right, all at once. So my hope and my prayer, this unique and bizarre and upside down high holy days, is that we're able to look at the past and smile. We're able to look at the future and not be anxious. And we're able to live in today intentionally, passionately and compassionately, and determined to make sure the sun will rise again. Shana Tova.